let's get honest about something no one teaches you in school. Opportunity doesn't just come to those who work hard. It actually comes to those who are perceived as already having value. Now, this sounds unfair, right? But it's not unfair. It's human nature. People give, people invite, people promote, and they offer to the woman who seems like she already belongs in the room. Not to the one explaining, not to the one proving or begging to be chosen. And that's why the psychology of perception is the real secret to receiving more. Now let me break this down for you, because I have been obsessed with psychology since I was a teen. Obsessed. And it's always been something that I have been so interested in, and I've watched people, I have read and researched and studied, and I'm still finding it more as life goes on. But it's a fascination of mine, and you wouldn't believe how big of a difference perception actually makes when it comes to real life, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to just the way things work, the world works. Okay, so I want to begin with this point here. You attract not what you deserve. Let me tell you that. Now, I believe in karma. I believe big time in karma, but I also believe, and I understand, and I know that you attract, I attract, we all attract what others believe we deserve. And this is sad, but it's true. And this is where you might say personal branding becomes spiritual. Because if you present yourself as indecisive, apologetic, unsure, guess what? Others are going to mirror that back to you. Not in terms of how they behave, but in terms of how they see you. But, beautiful, when you show up with energy, with direction, with conviction, even before the results, because you're confident in your abilities, because your belief in yourself is strong, because you know you're worthy, people will assume that you're already the one. That's the way it works. And that assumption, it creates opportunities. And it creates opportunities very, very quickly. Now, people, everyone, we attach ourselves to momentum. We, as human beings, we are very drawn to power, to certainty, and to success in motion. That's why most people, the majority of people, believe every single thing their government tells them. They believe every single piece of, air quotations here, by the way, advice that people around them are giving them. Advice. They listen to what others say and treat everyone else's opinions like they are gospel. But actually, people want to attach themselves to momentum and security. So if you want to attract invitations, collaborations, next level access, then you need to actually act like a woman who is already in demand. And that's very easy to do. You might actually think to yourself, well, how is that easy to do? Because I don't already have the collaborations. I don't already have the interviews. I don't already have the invitations. I don't already have, because you're dwelling on how you don't have that. But when you start to make moves in an embodied way as the woman who is high level, powerful, successful, receives everything, and you start to see that in yourself and you start to believe that in yourself, you will start to create a life where you're very in demand. Not in an arrogant way, by the way, because I don't believe in that. We stay grounded here at Business Manifestation. We are grounded as they come, but we are also very highly valuable. So we're not being arrogant, but we have a full diary, we have a jam-packed schedule. I could say unfortunately, but no, it's fortunate. Things just are very tight in order that our life keeps moving. So this is a very embodied way of being. You're not chasing, you're not convincing, you're creating, you're moving, and people actually feel that. So I want you to let me know how you feel about that one in the comments, because it's a fact. Have you ever noticed that the busiest people always have the most to do, always get the more on their plate, and they always keep moving and building and growing, and you're like, well, how do they do that? Because they can, and they do, and they pack it in. Have you ever noticed that there's always somebody who's always bored, always gossiping, always not doing anything, always left out of things? Why? Because they don't actually have that momentum, that energy, that get up and go. They haven't chosen it for themselves. Okay, so you have to decide that's you. And you have to actually become someone who has that momentum, who has that energy, who has that schedule, in order that you actually gain all the opportunities that you're looking for. Now, if you want to ask me for specific comments, just comment below and give me a scenario that you're in, and I will do so. Make sure that makes sense. But finally, I want you to understand, and this is really to embed that in, because I've basically said that for the past 2 slides. I really want you to understand this. You don't get what you ask for. You get what you embody. And this, my beautiful, is the magnetic truth. If you want to be seen as the leader, then act like one. Why? Not faking it till you make it. But no, because you're like, well, actually, I am a leader. I'm the leader of my family. I'm the leader of my whatever role you do. I'm a leader in this, that, and the next aspects. So actually, I'm going to act like one. I'm not going to be undermining myself anymore. I'm not going to be not mentioning all of the amazing things that I know I can talk about when it comes up in conversation. I'm going to be giving my opinions on this because I can, because I know the context, whatever. Like, you get what you embody. So act like a leader in whatever domain you are a leader in, and please let me know the domains that you're leading right now, so that you start to believe in yourself and back this up with actual concrete facts. If you want to be treated like a woman of value, then you need to behave like a woman who expects respect without having to earn it every second. I'm going to give you an explanation of, not an explanation, but a kind of scenario to explain this. You are going to have to start expecting respect in every scenario. Now, maybe you weren't born with a network, a group of people around about you who encouraged you to demand and expect respect. We don't demand respect by saying, you must respect me. But no, you demand respect. You command, I should say, rather. You command respect by actually being somebody who respects themselves. And when people don't respect you, when you sense in any way that you're being disrespected, whether that be by somebody treading on your toes, you can call them out on that kindly, with authority, but with staying grounded. When somebody steps over a boundary of yours, you let them know. When somebody is not their genuine, authentic self for you, and you sense it and you know it, you are going to pull back. You're not necessarily going to mention why, but you are going to make it very well known through your energy, I guess, that you expect respect. You're not going to be nasty. You're not going to be mean. You know, if someone is downright mean to you in your work context, in your real life context, whatever, you're certainly not going to create a scene and say, well, how dare you speak to me like that? No. But it's like, you're not going to accept that. So in that instance, you have two options. You have the option of, I'm going to politely, calmly, respectfully speak with that person about it out of the public domain, so not everybody can see what's going on, but they know that you're dealing with that situation, you're not happy about it. And you must do that then and there, by the way, if this is a work situation. You're not going to be like waiting till the end of the meeting and saying, hey, I didn't like how you spoke to me, or write some big long email. It's like, hi, can we speak about this for a second? Thanks. You get up and you walk outside. If they don't follow you, then fine, but everyone understands. You've shown what your opinion was there. And you might think, like, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. Well, you should. Why? Because if someone disrespects you, you're not going to disrespect them back, but you're going to respectfully, in that context, show, sorry, that's not the way you treat me. Or if something happens where you just can't put your finger on it, but someone has disrespected you in some way, you really, and you don't want to bring it up because you're like, strange situation, not like the usual. This can happen a lot, by the way, in dynamics with people you know. Something's going on there, something in the background. Well, you need to decide whether or not you want that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? That flip-flop energy, that hot and cold, that it's kind of like, I can't think of the exact word I'm looking for, but if you're not getting consistency, authenticity, care, respect, you just need to back off. You just need to have those boundaries, be polite, be yourself, be your best self, but you need others to understand that that's not, you totally get, you're seeing this, but that's not the kind of energy that you have in interactions. And look, some people can be having off days, things are going on in their life, things can be misinterpreted, and so that's fine, but it must be very clear and evident that when people are overstepping certain boundaries or situations come up, that this isn't something you tolerate, because you have a very high worth in yourself. Okay, and we only want high quality energy and interactions for you. That's really important in your life. And so when you start making sure that that's all you're going to accept in your life, you're not going to get those low quality interactions anymore. You're not. And that's because perception isn't built through words, it's built through a presence that you have. So let me say this clearly. When you walk into a room as her, as your highest value self, as your highest version of you, people adjust. When you lead with certainty, offers just land in your lap. When you stop trying to prove and you start to be, your whole world shifts. Just because you are you. You are worthy. And even if life feels a bit lonely at times, yes, lonely at the top, I should say it every episode. Even if you feel that, stick with it. Because the connections you have in your life, the ones that really matter, you don't need to prove a single thing. And all these new connections are going to come and they're going to grow as you progress in your life. But for these perfect, authentic connections to happen in your world, you need to be very sure and clear on where your boundaries lie and uphold them in a very down-to-earth way. So that's all easier said than done. I get it. I totally get it. But I've been through this with you. I've been through this in my life. I have been the biggest people pleaser that ever existed. And I have worked so incredibly hard to become somebody who values myself and who wants to be an incredible example to my family in terms of the type of leader they can become. So if you know that you're ready to become the woman that others want to say yes to, not because you're loud, not because you're pushy, but because your presence says it all, then your next step is to claim your spark activation. Now, your spark activation is not a course. It is not a coaching program. And it's certainly not just a video. The spark activation is a private, personalised deep dive into exactly how you're being perceived right now and how you can shift the energy that you currently are resonating at into the woman who just receives effortlessly. Now, the doors you're waiting on, they're waiting for you. They're waiting on you to evolve right now into the woman who gets handed the key. So you can step into your power now by going ahead and securing your spark activation. You can find all the information in the description box below. But until the next episode, I want you to remember that you're valuable, you're powerful, you're so worthy, and you can do all of this independently or with guidance. So make sure that you like this episode if it meant something to you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have more incredible content coming for you tomorrow. And make sure that you have checked out the spark activation, because I know it's something you're going to find incredibly valuable in your life. So make sure you've liked, subscribed, you've commented below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.